The forehand is the shot of choice for most tennis players. It's also usually the shot that we learn first when we first jump on the court. It's not the backhand, it's not the serve, it's not the volley. It's the shot that we use more often than not when given the choice to do everything else. In today's video, we're going to be going over a couple little details to get you hitting your forehands clean, effective, and easy in the shortest amount of time. Welcome to today's Tennis 101, where we're going over the forehand. So breaking these into three components, we're going to be looking at the preparation slash setup, we're going to be looking at the swing path, and we're going to be looking at the contact. There are some other things that go in there, but these are the three most important things to get you hitting effective, clean forehands in the shortest amount of time possible. Now, when we look at the preparation slash setup, that has to do with what our feet are doing as well as what our upper body is doing. The swing path is how our racket gets from the beginning of the stroke to the end of the stroke, and the contact point is what we would be doing as we strike the ball or as we make contact with the ball, somewhere in the middle of our swing path. Now, the setup has a couple components, and I did a video specifically on how to get ready and how to stay ready for the shots. I'm going to link that video down below because there are a lot of things that I cover in that video that pertain to this that I'm going to kind of breeze over quickly. So going from the beginning, we're going to start with a split step, and then we're going to be looking to get ourselves moving towards where we interpret that the ball's coming. First thing we're going to want to do is open up our hip and get our body able to move to the side. A lot of people make the mistake of kind of shuffling to the side and getting the ball coming at them right on. First thing we're going to do right from the beginning is get the shoulders turned and get the hips open, which allow us to move to the side. At the same time that we're doing that, we're going to be setting our racket up at whatever our comfortable preparation point is. Now, there is room for variety, but the one thing that we want to make sure that we do is we get our shoulders 90 degrees this way. After that, there are people who will hold their racket in this position. There are people who will hold it a little lower, a little further back. But no matter what you do, you want to make sure your body is facing that 90 degrees to the side. At the same time that you're preparing your shot, you're going to be making sure that you're in your forehand grip. I'm going to link that video down below as well, because I did a whole video on how to pick your grips for what shots you want to use. So putting it all together, we're going to have our split step and then all the things that I just talked about in our immediate preparation. So that's the easy part. Then all we have to do is figure out how far we want to go to find the ball. No matter how far we go, we want to stop with our outside foot first. So if I'm moving to my right, I want to put my right foot down along the path of the ball. That's going to allow me to line myself up and not get jammed up in the middle of my stroke and be able to extend my arm out through my contact. So looking at me from this perspective here, I'm just going to move back a little bit. I would go from my split step to my preparation, move as far as I need to move, then stop on my outside leg, which allows me to swing if I need to. Now, once we get to that position, again, we're still in the setup, you will have the option of stepping forward or staying in this position. This is called an open stance. This will work fine. There is no need to necessarily step in unless we're adjusting for the ball being shorter, but there are benefits to stepping in, like being able to create a little bit more momentum through the stroke. But again, that's completely subjective on your own shot. You can execute a shot just by going from the preparation into this position and spacing yourself out appropriately for the ball. So getting into our swing path next, the swing path is what we're going to do from that setup to our finish slash extension. So swing path is one of the most important parts that we want to get right, because that's going to determine how we're going to be contacting the ball. So I'm going to turn sideways. I'm going to put a little overlay here of the three angles that we could be approaching the ball. But going from whatever it is that you decided is your setup position, we're going to mark where our contact is with a little dot. So I'm going to put that dot right here. Once we have that dot set up, let's assume that that's where the contact would be. What I do from this point here to that contact dot where I'm striking the ball is going to determine what my extension is after. So if I want to hit a ball that goes very straight or linear, I'm going to drop my racket level with that dot and go straight towards it, which is going to mean the ball is going to continue along that path. Now, if I want to hit with a little bit more shape or lift or safety, making sure I clear the net, I'm going to start at that same position that I've decided. Again, you can do whichever one works most comfortable for you. but then I'm going to drop way below that dot, come up to the same spot, and then extend up beyond that shot. That's going to create more lift, more shape, and more safety, and more spin if you're doing it correctly. So as you can see, swing path is subjective to what we want to happen after the shot. And if you want to hit some type of ball in the middle, that's also fine. So we have the flatter path, we have the very high lifted and spinny path, and then we have something kind of sitting in the middle where we go and we're just usually rallying. After that, you're going to let natural momentum continue to take the ball and take your arm and extension in that direction. So if I face the camera this way now, when I hit my flat forehand, as I come toward that ball, my extension is going to be pretty linear through the shot and then get over to something going on here. Now, there's a difference between follow through and finish. A lot of coaches misteach this, so I need y'all to listen to me. Look at me deep in my eye sockets for a second. A follow through and a finish are not the same thing. Coaches stop telling players that they have to follow through over their shoulder. They do not, they never will, and if you ever teach them that, you're telling them literally the wrong thing. So your follow through is what you do from contact in the direction of what you want the ball to do and where you want it to go. Once you get to the end of that, everything beyond that point where you can no longer reach where the ball's going, that's part of your finish, and that's going to be part of your deceleration so that you don't hurt your shoulder, tendons, muscles, and all the other things. So if I played a whole match and I went through my follow through and stopped right here, I will officially have never truly finished the shot. But you can play a match like that. If you watch old school tennis, a lot of people played without conventional finishes. They would stop their shots right here and get back into their ready position. So the follow through is the most important part. The finish is a natural ending. Getting back to what I was saying, once we go through our follow through in the direction of the shot, the finish is just going to happen naturally on the opposite side of our body, allowing the muscles and everything to relax. Now getting to the last part, which is our contact. Subjectively speaking, you can have a little bit of variety in this depending on the ball and what you're trying to do. But for the most part, the rule of thumb is we want the ball about waist high ideally. A little lower, a little higher is not the end of the world. We want it about 1 foot to 1.5 feet in front of our body, which allows us to extend or begin to extend towards what we're trying to do. So I would strike that ball about here, extend beyond it. Or I'd strike that ball about here and extend upwards. That gives you the reach you need to create the rest of that shape. So if I was hitting a forehand, I would want the shot to be struck here and then continue to have that room to be able to do more with the ball. Big issue that a lot of people get into is contact point being compromised because of what their opponent's doing. They'll take balls that are up here, they'll let them drop too low, or they'll let them get in close to their body, and then they have to figure out how to make that shot and maneuver that shot. It's not what we want to do. So we want to make sure that as we're hitting that contact point, we are extending in the same natural line of what the swing was already doing. So if I'm hitting a ball with a lot of lift, I don't want to change my contact and then continue my lift. I want to find that spot and extend beyond it naturally and fluidly so the ball leaves my racket in a predictable way. So that's going to wrap it up, guys. It's very simple. You got basically 3 parts. You've got your setup, you've got your swing path, and then you've got your contact. If you do those 3 things correctly, you will hit forehands pretty clean. Now, like I said, there's some subjectivity in there where you're going to figure out what's most comfortable for you. But the most important parts are getting the setup right, where we line ourselves up with the outside foot first. And if we want to step in, we do. And then with the swing path, just make sure we pick a swing path and we let the swing path go all the way through. We don't change it in the middle. And then when we get to our contact, we want to make sure the contact is consistently about at waist high and 1 foot in front. And also, we want to keep that racket pretty parallel to the net. Sometimes we can close it up a little bit. For the most part, we're going to be right around there. If you want to benefit from this stuff, as always, please send it off to them. This was our video on how to successfully hit forehands pretty quickly. Thank you guys for checking out today's Tennis 101. I'll see you in the next one.